What's up, YouTube? I decided to make a video that has been much requested for quite some time, and that is a quality game room tour. One of the reasons I've been putting off making this video is I've just been needing a few more racks to get some of my games organized, and I finally did that over the last weekend along with redid kind of my system setup for some of my older systems. So if you haven't already, please take a moment and check out my video that shows off my new IKEA Besta Entertainment Center, and I'm using that for all my RGB equipped game systems from Nintendo on up, as well as all my newer systems that play on my flat screen TV. That video has already been made, so you can take a look at that, and then this video will focus more on the remainder of my game collection, as well as more of my classic system setup that is hooked up to a tube TV. So we start off here in the corner of the room that you probably have seen the most of, and that is my NES collection. I do have a complete NES collection, and the only thing I'm missing is stadium events to have the full license set. Need a couple more of the unlicensed games like Panesians and things like that, but I do have all the Color Dreams and all the major unlicensed companies. So at the top here we have a couple system boxes. You can see my original action set box from when I was a kid. I got that in 1989. And the rest of this is just my cartridge collection. You see a Power Glove, and just like I said, the rest of the cartridge collection, going all the way down to the bottom. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because I think you've seen that in several of my videos. It's usually my backdrop. And then we'll go ahead and move over to this corner of the room. So on the top of all my game racks, I've set up system boxes for every system I have the original box for. Here we have boxes for N64, my original GameCube, which I actually bought at launch, Nintendo Wii, PS2, and Slim PS2. So moving on here, we have my US PS2 collection on the top couple shelves. And then that moves into my Japanese PS2 collection. I've done a video on that already if you'd like to take a look at that. Moving on down, you have the Nintendo GameCube collection, original Xbox, just a few Xbox 360 games, not a huge Xbox 360 fan, and then Nintendo Wii at the bottom. As you can see, I'm kind of overflowing with the Wii games onto the floor, so we're going to have to do something else with those. And I'll pan up one more time, and then move on to the next section. So next, underneath the floor here, we have my original Game Boy collection. It's all in that baseball card box. I actually need to get another one. As you can see, I'm overflowing there too. And a couple Virtual Boy games. Not displayed too greatly, as I can show you. And then over on this rack, we have my very small N64 collection. I'm not a big fan of that system. And you can get into my TurboGrafx games. TurboGrafx CD games and PC Engine games, as well as original Game Boy games that are in the box. Alright, oh, and Japanese Saturn games. Forgot to mention that too. So then we'll move on to the next exciting corner of the room, and that is my recently completed full US Sega Saturn collection. I'll probably do a separate video on this, so I'm not going to linger here too long. You can see a couple more promotional boxes and items at the top, or original system boxes I should say. Then we just scroll through the collection here. Like I said, this is the full set of US Sega Saturn titles. It's been my big challenge over the last couple years, and I recently completed it. Looks really cool on the shelf, I think. And at the bottom you see my Sega CD collection, which I'm probably going to move those to another rack soon. Next, moving on, we have a couple more system boxes. My original PlayStation 1001 series box that I got in 1997 when I bought my system. PSP, PSTV, and I recently just found this. It's a promotional piece from Squaresoft when Final Fantasy VII and a couple of the other games were new. It's kind of cool. It's a standee. I found a Chocobo Bank as well from the PlayStation era. And then pretty much everything on this rack is Sony titles. So we have my PSP collection, Japanese PS1, moving into US PS1. I've actually been stocking up on that quite a bit over the last year. A lot of cool titles on that system. I did a video on those as well if you'd like to watch that. You can see my big box PS1 games, PS3 games, and then a system I really don't have a good place to put, and that's Sega Game Gear. Kind of got those shoved into the corner. Actually been thinking about making a Sega Game Gear video next to highlight that collection. Alright, and we'll pan over to another side of the room here. Here I've shown these in another video as well. These are all my boxes for NES games. Do have quite a few. I've got some really good ones. Little Samson Panic Restaurant, Bubble Bobble 2, good stuff like that. Those are all kind of in the center there. As you can see, I'm really overflowing with these. I don't necessarily seek these out, but I got a lot of them a long time ago. And moving on to the bottom. All those are empty NES boxes. So over here, we start into Sega games again. This is my Sega Master System titles that are in the box. A few more on this shelf, some loose Master System games, and some Sega Mega Drive Japanese import games. Only have a few of those. And then this is actually the tail end of my boxed Genesis collection. I'm going to show you the start of that here in a moment. Got a little room to grow, not much. And a few loose cards at the bottom. I try not to buy Genesis games loose, but I got a few that I'm just trying to get boxes for. So, like I say, I'll move on to the rest of the Genesis collection next. So here we have a couple more system boxes, as well as the Lethal Enforcer Sega CD set. And these are all my Sega Genesis boxed games. Majority of these are complete, but as any Genesis collector knows, getting the manuals for games is actually the hardest part. And several of these I'm still trying to get manuals for. So scroll down through that. A lot of really good titles for Genesis. I've actually been a pretty big Genesis fan over the last few years. And on down to the bottom. So next I'll show you the new tube TV setup I've got set up in here. Do a wide shot there. I found this really cool PlayStation banner that I've had since, again, back in the PlayStation days and never really did anything with it, so I decided to hang that up. I've got a giant Parappa the Rapper promotional box too, which I think is pretty cool. You can see a couple of my joysticks sitting on the top there for Saturn, Dreamcast, and PlayStation. And then this is the new tube TV setup, which I actually used my old IKEA Entertainment Center to build this over the last weekend. Just moved a bunch of stuff around and got all this to work. So here we have Nintendo Virtual Boy, my original NES from when I was a kid, N64, which is stupidly not RGB capable, so that's why it sits in here, Super Nintendo Junior, a Sega CD and Genesis combo, which I don't really use anymore. I have a JVC XI hooked up in the other room, a spare top loader NES, which also isn't even hooked up, my Atari 2600, PC Engine. I usually a modded Turbo Duo to play those games now, so that's just kind of extra also. And my Sega Master System down there at the bottom. I don't know if I'll open this up, but this cabinet has all my loose controllers, light guns, extension cords, joysticks, all kinds of goofy controllers for classic systems. I just used this glass cabinet just to kind of store those out of the way. Then moving over here to the side, we have kind of a mess, but it's my Atari 2600 collection. Don't really have a good way to display those yet. And then moving into the next rack, which is Super Nintendo. I also keep all my portable boxes on the top of this rack. So you have Sega Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Nintendo DS, Nintendo Game Boy Color, Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP, an extra Super Nintendo box, and Sega Nomad. I don't have a box for that, unfortunately. A couple Super Famicom games there on the top. And as we go through these carts, I do actually have boxes for quite a few Super Nintendo games, but I don't have room in here to display them, so I keep them in a closet. I don't think I'll show you that because it's pretty messy right now. I just reworked this, so there's actually some empty shelves that I'm probably going to move some stuff around. I might even put those Atari games into this section, or keep it for more Super Nintendo storage. So I think I counted, I've probably just around 300 Super Nintendo carts, and probably have just about all the big titles that are desirable for it. The rest is kind of just junk, so kind of stalled out on that collection. And that does it for this room. I did want to show you one other rack in the other room, so I'll just do a Kind of a panned out shot here of everything. And over into the corner. And then we'll just move into this other room so I can show you one more rack. Unfortunately, this didn't fit in there, but this is the rest of my Sega collection. So we have a couple portable systems I just store on the top here, some Dreamcast accessories, memory cards. I have a arcade marquee for the arcade game Shadow Dancer, which I do own in my collection. The Yu Suzuki GameWorks book that comes with the Dreamcast game of some of his arcade ports. It's really cool. And then this is my complete US Sega Dreamcast collection. So it's about 250 titles. Just finished that, I guess it's been almost a year ago I finished that now. And we'll scroll down a little bit. I do have a few Japanese Sega Dreamcast games. Got a Euro Shenmue 2, which was the first way I played that game. It's a great game. Then we get into Nintendo DS games. And a couple Game Boy Advance games, Japanese. And then at the bottom, boxed US Game Boy Advance games. So yeah, that pretty much does it. That is the extent of my game room tour. And thank you guys for commenting and saying that this was something you wanted to see for quite some time. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see. If you have any tips for other ways to organize the room, I'm certainly open to those. Like I say, it's certainly a work in progress, and I'm always looking to improve things. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments as well. And have a great day or night wherever you are. I will talk to you soon.